Wisconsin's Act 10 entered a new revived legal fight, and 3 individuals charged in Wisconsin's fake elector scheme to overturn President Biden's 2020 victory will be in court. Our CBS 58 Capitol correspondent Emily Fannin and WisPolitics editor J.R. Ross break it down from Madison.
We begin this week with the major victory that unions scored after a Dane County judge restored collective bargaining rights for most public workers. And this was the law that was overturned, known as Act 10, which was a very controversial law, but also a very signature law of former Governor Scott Walker. And, this is a law, JR, that has actually been, challenged numerous times and upheld. But this time was a different outcome.
So this argument actually been raised before that the law treats certain employees differently. Back in 2011, when Walker and his administration drafted this law, they were afraid that if they went after the bargaining powers of police in particular, they could have strikes, they'd be left without public safety officials, and it would cause an even bigger headache. They exempted them, but that opened the door to this challenge, which is that you're treating these guys differently because of their classification. Federal court said, no, not a problem. This judge said it is, and now you've opened the door to collective bargaining powers being back for everybody. Lost it basically in Act 10. The question is, where does it go from here, and when will that be resolved?
Right. Where it goes from here is a big question, because does it stay in the lower courts, or does it just automatically get petitioned to the state Supreme Court? And that could be a little bit of a sticky situation, because some of the justices have some ties to Act 10.
So immediately after the ruling came down, Republican lawmakers went to the Second District Court of Appeals based in Waukesha. You've got 4 judges on that panel. You're guaranteed a majority conservative panel hearing that case, with 3 conservatives on that court. That's their go-to place to challenge Dane County rulings anymore. The question, though, is will the unions ask the state Supreme Court to take it directly? There's a petition to bypass, it's called, where you can have the justices take any appeal and just hear it directly. But if they do that, who's going to hear it? Janet Prosewicz, liberal justice elected in 2023, signed a recall petition, protested the law, said during the campaign she might, and I stress might, not hear a case involving Act 10. Brian Hagedorn, conservative, was part of the Walker administration when the law was drafted. Does he have a conflict of interest? No. I've covered judges for a long time. There's no requirement they recuse. There are standards that say you should step off because of A, B, and C. That's only up to every judge and justice to say, I can hear a case. Few I've talked to have ever said, I can't hear it. I'm too biased to hear a case. So we'll see who would actually step off. And then 2, when does it get there? There's a Supreme Court race in April. The court typically stops hearing cases and oral arguments like late spring, early summer, wraps things up by, for the end of June. So who's going to hear the case? If it holds over to the next term, starting August 1st, it could be a new justice, which means the April election determines the balance of the court hearing the case. And
what will be interesting to watch is whether the state Supreme Court will hear that case within this tight timeline, because they've already heard the abortion issue. They've tackled redistricting. If they add Act 10 to that list, could it impact, liberals on the court heading into the next state Supreme Court race? That's something that we'll pay close attention to. But looking ahead to next week, there's a court case involving individuals tied to the fake elector scheme here in Wisconsin, which was the plot to try and overturn the 2020 election for former President Donald Trump. Now, this will be their initial appearance in court, and already one of the attorneys involved in this scheme is trying to dismiss charges against himself.
Yeah, Jim Troupas, longtime Dane County-based attorney, basically arguing that what they did wasn't illegal. It was about preserving Trump's options. So remember, go back to 2020. Donald Trump sought to recount the votes in Dane and Milwaukee counties, the 2 most liberal in Wisconsin, argued there was something nefarious there. That had actually been basically not proven by the recount. He'd gone to court, they've been shot down, but still there are challenges pending in federal court. And so Troupas argued in this filing that, look, this has precedent. If you go back to 1960 in Hawaii, there was some dispute about who had won the electoral votes out of that state in Kennedy versus Nixon. A judge there advised both sides to basically sign the paperwork and send it on to Congress. There's precedent, he says. It was out in the open, and it wasn't illegal. Now, we're a long way from resolution, but Troupas, another attorney from the Trump campaign, another Trump aide, initial appearance, felony charge against him by AG Josh Kaul. Interesting to watch how this plays out, if there's an appetite for this case going forward, and will it be resolved before this next Trump term is over.
Right. All right, that will do it for this week. Thanks so much for joining us.